Chapter 4, The Pokémon Academy, Year 1 begins. An invitation to the Academy. The letter arrived a week after Rine's meeting with Professor Maple. Sealed with the Oak Research Institute's emblem, it was an official invitation to enroll in the prestigious Pokémon Academy. Rine stared at the letter, a mix of excitement and apprehension bubbling within him. He had heard stories of the Academy, a rigorous school where students not only learned about Pokémon but also honed their battling skills, survival instincts, and understanding of the world. Elric clapped Rine on the shoulder, his pride evident. "This is a big step, Rine. You've got the makings of a great trainer." Mari, ever the doting mother, packed his belongings with care, tucking in extra clothes, supplies, and a notebook she insisted he used to record his thoughts. "You'll be amazing," she said, her eyes misty. "And Stardust will be right there with you." Rine nodded, his determination solidifying. This wasn't just an opportunity, it was a stepping stone toward his destiny. The first day. The Pokémon Academy was a sprawling campus nestled on the outskirts of Viridian City, surrounded by lush greenery and clear skies. Students from across Kanto, and even some from neighboring regions, filled the grounds, their chatter buzzing with excitement. Rine was assigned a shared dorm room with 3 other students: Finn Cressvale, a fiery boy from Pallet Town with a lit Leo, Amira Steelroot, his quiet friend from the Pokemart, and a newcomer, Dara Mirren, a confident girl with a mischievous EV. Dara introduced herself with a grin. "Looks like we're stuck together. Hope none of you snore." Finn rolled his eyes. "As long as you don't let that EV steal my food, we'll get along just fine." Their first week was packed with orientation activities. Classes ranged from Pokémon care to type matchups, with a heavy emphasis on survival skills. Rine excelled in theory, thanks to his prior knowledge, but quickly realized that practical applications were far more challenging than he had anticipated. Halfway through the first semester, during a weekend visit home, Rine and Stardust were thrust into action. A pack of wild Spearow had descended on Pallet Town, harassing villagers and damaging crops. "Stardust, let's go!" Rine shouted, sprinting toward the commotion. With Rine's guidance, Stardust used its aura-imbued dragon rage to scatter the flock. The Spearow retaliated, but Stardust's speed and precision allowed it to fend them off, forcing the flock to retreat. The townsfolk praised Rine's bravery, and Elric pulled him aside later. "You're making us proud, son. Keep this up, and you'll be a trainer Pallet Town can rely on." New faces, new challenges. Back at the academy, Rine's circle of friends expanded. He befriended Kai Takahara, a reserved boy with an affinity for electric types, and Lana Brightsong, a cheerful girl whose Jigglypuff had an uncanny knack for calming tense situations. Kai was meticulous, often challenging Rine to think strategically in battle simulations. Lana, on the other hand, brought levity to their group, her infectious laughter breaking the tension during late-night study sessions. One evening, during a practical exercise in the Academy's simulated wilds, the group encountered a wild Rhyhorn hologram that had malfunctioned, attacking with far more aggression than intended. "Rine, we need a plan." Finn yelled as the Rhyhorn charged. "Lana, sing it to sleep." Rine commanded, his voice steadied despite the chaos. With Lana's Jigglypuff providing cover, Stardust unleashed a powerful slash, neutralizing the hologram. The group emerged unscathed, their teamwork strengthening their bond. Chapter 5, Closing the First Year. The first year at the Pokémon Academy had been nothing short of transformative for Rine. From the moment he stepped onto the sprawling campus, he had been thrust into a world of rigorous lessons, tough challenges, and the thrill of discovery. As the final weeks of the year approached, he reflected on how far he and Stardust had come, and the trials that still lay ahead. Struggles and successes. Rine quickly realized that despite his knowledge of the Pokémon world, there was a stark difference between theory and practice. Early in the year, he excelled in subjects like type matchups and Pokémon nutrition. His ability to recall obscure details, like the precise conditions needed for certain Pokémon evolutions, often left his instructors impressed and his peers envious. But his overconfidence often led to missteps. During one of the first practical exercises, Rine underestimated the difficulty of managing Stardust's battles in real time. In a mock battle against a classmate's Geodude, Rine gave commands too quickly, confusing Stardust and leaving openings for the opponent. Stardust took a hard hit from a rock throw, and Rine barely managed to recover the match with a well-timed Dragon Rage. "Rine," Professor Kara said after the battle, pulling him aside. "You know your Pokémon well, but you're trying to fight the battle on your own. Trust Stardust to make decisions in the heat of the moment. It's not just about commands, it's about connection." This advice stayed with Rine, shaping how he approached training and battles for the rest of the year. Strengthening the bond. Outside of class, Rine worked tirelessly with Stardust to build their synchronization. The small Axu was fiercely loyal, and its shimmering galaxy-like scales drew admiration wherever they went. But Stardust's unique aura-infused abilities also meant it required careful attention and specialized training to hone its potential. Rine began to incorporate more of his aura training into their sessions, focusing on subtle ways to enhance Stardust's movements and attacks. By mid-year, they had developed a technique they called Resonant Step, a maneuver where Rine projected faint bursts of aura to guide Stardust's positioning during battle. Though imprecise and exhausting for Rine, it proved invaluable in tight situations. One particular breakthrough came during a lesson on environmental adaptation. The students were tasked with navigating a simulated forest filled with holographic Pokémon and environmental hazards. Stardust's keen senses and Rine's growing aura awareness allowed them to identify safe paths and evade dangers that others missed. "We did it, Stardust," Rine said after they emerged as one of the top-performing pairs. Stardust chirped proudly, nuzzling his shoulder. The first crisis. As spring rolled in, the academy grounds erupted with life. Wild Pokémon became more active, and the staff often warned students about wandering too far into the surrounding wilderness. Despite these precautions, trouble struck during a class excursion to the nearby Viridian wilds. Rine's group, comprising Finn, Amira, Dara, and Kai, was tasked with gathering resources like berries and medicinal plants. What started as a routine exercise quickly turned dangerous when they stumbled upon a Beedrill hive. The wild Beedrill, disturbed by a careless step from Dara's EV, swarmed with ferocity. Finn's Litleo managed to fend off a few with Ember, but the group was outnumbered. "Run! We'll never take them all!" Finn shouted, panic edging his voice. "No!" Rine yelled back. "If we scatter, we're done for. We have to fight together." He turned to Stardust. "Dragon Rage. Keep them back." The Axu unleashed a powerful blast, scattering the nearest Beedrill. Rine quickly coordinated with his team. Dara's EV used Sand Attack to obscure the swarm's vision, while Kai's Magnemite fired precise thunder shocks. Amira's calm focus helped keep the group steady, guiding them toward a safe clearing. By the time they reached safety, the Beedrill had retreated, leaving the group shaken but unharmed. The incident was a wake-up call for Rine, reinforcing the dangers of the wild and the importance of teamwork. Rine's birthday. April 5th dawned quietly for Rine. He hadn't expected much, the academy was demanding, and everyone seemed too busy to notice. But as he returned to the dorm after morning classes, he was met with a surprise. The common room was decorated with hand-drawn banners, and his friends stood grinning around a small cake. Stardust, sitting proudly on the table, wore a lopsided party hat. "Happy birthday, Rine!" Finn exclaimed, clapping him on the back. "Didn't think we'd forget, did you?" Dara teased, handing him a box wrapped in bright paper. Inside was a set of aura training bands, sleek, adjustable tools designed to enhance his focus and control. "We figured you could use these," Kai said, his voice quieter but genuine. "You've been working hard." The gesture warmed Rine's heart. For the first time in years, he felt truly celebrated, surrounded by people who cared for him. Preparing for the tournament. The year-end tournament loomed as the ultimate test of the students' progress. Each match would challenge their skills, strategies, and bonds with their Pokémon. For Rine, it was a chance to prove how far he and Stardust had come. In the weeks leading up to the event, Rine doubled down on his training. He focused on refining Resonant Step, pushing both himself and Stardust to their limits. Late-night practice sessions left him exhausted, but he refused to let up. His friends supported him in their own ways. Finn sparred with him regularly, helping him anticipate aggressive tactics. Amira fine-tuned Stardust's diet, ensuring it had the energy needed for prolonged battles. Even Kai offered analytical advice, identifying patterns in Rine's battling style. The tournament begins. The Pokémon Academy's year-end tournament was the most anticipated event of the first year. It was more than a competition, it was a culmination of months of hard work, a chance for every student to showcase their growth and prove their mettle. The grand battle arena buzzed with energy as students, instructors, and staff gathered to witness the matches. The arena itself was a marvel of technology. Its battlefield could shift dynamically, simulating different terrains, rocky landscapes, grassy meadows, and even small water pools. A rotating platform suspended above the arena displayed holographic brackets, updating in real time as the matches progressed. Rine stood in the staging area, Stardust perched on his shoulder. His Axe's shimmering galaxy-like scales drew more than a few stares from the crowd, but Rine paid them little mind. He was focused, running through strategies in his head. Match 1, Rine vs. Alan. Rine's first opponent was Alan, a cheerful boy with a sturdy Machop by his side. The battlefield for their match shifted into a rocky terrain, with jagged stones and uneven ground that favored physical combatants like Machop. As the match began, Alan wasted no time. "Machop, karate chop," he called, and the fighting type lunged forward with surprising speed. Stardust, dodge left and use slash. Rine countered. Stardust darted to the side, narrowly avoiding Machop's attack, and retaliated with a glowing claw strike. The hit connected, forcing Machop back a few steps. Alan grinned. "Not bad, but you'll have to do better." Machop, low kick. The attack caught Stardust off guard, striking its legs and sending it tumbling. Rine clenched his fists. Stardust was quick, but Machop's raw power was overwhelming in close quarters. "Keep your distance," Rine called. "Use Dragon Rage to push it back." Stardust unleashed a burst of fiery energy, forcing Machop to retreat. Using the distance to his advantage, Rine guided Stardust to strike with precise slash attacks, chipping away at Machop's stamina. The battle ended with a final Dragon Rage that knocked Machop off balance, securing Rine's victory. As the referee declared him the winner, Rine breathed a sigh of relief. He knew this was just the beginning. After a short break, the next match arrived. Match 2, Rine vs. Malia. The second match was against Malia, a composed girl with a Poliwag. The battlefield shifted to a grassy terrain with small pools of water scattered throughout. Rine knew immediately that Malia had the advantage. "Poliwag, water gun," Malia called, her tone calm and measured. The stream of water caught Stardust off guard, forcing it to leap back. The pools made it difficult for Stardust to maintain solid footing, and Malia's Poliwag used the terrain to its advantage, darting from one pool to another. "Don't let it control the field," Rine shouted. "Use Dragon Rage." Stardust's attack created a burst of heat that evaporated part of the water, but Poliwag retaliated with a hypnosis, causing Stardust to falter. "Stardust, wake up," Rine called desperately, his heart racing. The crowd watched in suspense as Stardust struggled to shake off the sleep effect. Finally, its aura flared faintly, snapping it out of the trance. Slash! Rine commanded. Stardust surged forward, its claws glowing as it struck Poliwag, forcing it to retreat. With a final dragon rage, Stardust overwhelmed the Poliwag, clinching a hard-earned victory. The final match. The final match was set to be the highlight of the tournament, Rine and Stardust versus Dara and her EV. Both trainers had earned their spots through grit and strategy, and the crowd buzzed with excitement as their names appeared on the holographic display. The battlefield shifted into a dynamic urban setting, with towering structures and narrow alleyways that favored quick, adaptable Pokémon like Eevee. As the match began, Dara wasted no time. Eevee, quick attack. Go for the opening. Eevee blurred into motion, darting between obstacles to close the distance. Rine barely had time to react. Stardust, dodge and counter with Slash. Stardust sidestepped, its glowing claws grazing Eevee as it passed. Dara smirked. Eevee, baby doll eyes. The sudden change in Eevee's expression caused Stardust to hesitate, its confidence briefly shaken. Dara used the moment to press her advantage. Now, sand attack. Eevee kicked up a cloud of dust, obscuring Stardust's vision. Rine gritted his teeth. Dara's tactics were designed to keep him on the defensive. Focus, Stardust. Rine called. Use your aura to feel its movements. Closing its eyes, Stardust tuned into the faint energy of its surroundings. When Eevee lunged for another quick attack, Stardust sidestepped gracefully, its claws striking out with precision. The crowd gasped as Dara's Eevee tumbled but quickly recovered. Eevee, use Double Edge. Full power. The normal type charged, its body glowing with raw energy. Rine knew the attack would hit hard, but it would also leave Eevee vulnerable. Stardust, resonant step. Get behind it. Projecting a faint pulse of aura, Rine guided Stardust's movements. The Axu slipped past the charging Eevee, positioning itself for a decisive strike. Now, dual chop. Stardust's claws glowed with intense energy as it delivered a powerful two-hit combo. The first strike staggered Eevee, and the second sent it tumbling to the ground. The arena fell silent for a moment before erupting into cheers. The referee raised a flag. Winner, Rine and Stardust. Aftermath of the tournament. As the crowd's applause filled the arena, Rine knelt beside Stardust, his hand resting on its shimmering scales. We did it, he said softly. Stardust chirped, nuzzling his shoulder. Dara approached, a smile on her face despite her loss. That was incredible, she said. You've got something special with Stardust. You weren't too bad yourself, Rine replied, offering a handshake. The mutual respect between them marked the beginning of a new chapter in their rivalry, a friendship forged through battle. That night, as Rine returned to his dorm, the weight of the year settled on him. He had faced challenges, made mistakes, and learned more than he ever thought possible. But more importantly, he had grown, not just as a trainer, but as a person. With Stardust curled up at the foot of his bed, Rine stared out the window at the stars. The first year was over, but his second year was just beginning. Chapter 6, Aura Awakening and Preparations for Year 2. The summer break between the first and second year of the Pokémon Academy was both a reprieve and an opportunity for growth. For Rine, it was a chance to focus on the gift Arceus had bestowed upon him, Aura. While the first year had tested his endurance and teamwork, it had also revealed gaps in his abilities. He knew that to survive and thrive in this vast world, he needed to unlock the full potential of aura cultivation. Returning to Pallet Town. The familiar sight of Pallet Town brought a sense of calm after the intensity of the academy. The streets bustled as usual, but there was a warmth to the town that always felt like home. Elric and Mari greeted Rine at the door with open arms, though Elric's sharp eye quickly noticed the changes in his son. "You've grown stronger," Elric said, a rare smile tugging at his lips. "But strength isn't just physical. How's your mind holding up?" Rine nodded. "I've learned a lot, but I still have so much to work on. I want to train harder, especially with aura." Mari set a plate of fresh bread on the table, her gaze softening. "Just don't forget to rest, Rine. Stardust needs you as much as you need him." The Aksu, perched proudly on Rine's shoulder, chirped in agreement, its shimmering scales reflecting the light of the setting sun. The first steps of aura cultivation. Rine's aura training began in earnest the very next morning. Armed with the aura training bands gifted to him by his friends, he ventured into the quiet fields outside of town. He had spent the last year dabbling in aura techniques, but now he was determined to progress beyond the basics. Aura cultivation required patience and discipline. Each session began with meditation, a practice that Rine initially found frustrating. Sitting still for hours while focusing on the faint energy within his body seemed counterproductive compared to physical training. But as the days passed, Rine began to sense it, a warm, pulsing energy coursing through him, like a river flowing just beneath the surface of his skin. At first, it flickered like a weak flame, but with practice, it grew steadier. One evening, as he sat beneath a sprawling oak tree, Stardust resting beside him, he finally felt a breakthrough. A faint blue glow enveloped his hands, the aura flickering like starlight. Stardust opened its golden eyes, sensing the shift. "We're getting there," Rine murmured, a small smile forming on his lips. The Iron Minor Realm. By the end of the first month, Rine had reached the Iron Minor Realm of aura cultivation. While still a beginner, the progress granted him subtle enhancements, quicker reflexes, sharper focus, and the ability to project faint pulses of aura. He integrated aura into his training sessions with Stardust. One technique they worked on was Aura Echo, where Rine synchronized his aura with Stardust's movements, amplifying its speed and precision. Though the technique was taxing, it brought their bond to a new level. A sparring partner. As the summer wore on, Rine found himself yearning for more challenging practice. While Stardust was an excellent partner, he needed someone to push him in battle. His prayers were answered when Finn Cressvale arrived in Pallet Town, his Litleo bounding beside him. "Thought I'd stop by," Finn said with a grin. "Figured you could use some competition." The two sparred daily, their Pokémon clashing in the open fields. Finn's aggressive tactics forced Rine to think on his feet, while Rine's calculated approach taught Finn the value of patience. During one match, Stardust's Dragon Rage collided with Litleo's Flame Charge, the resulting explosion leaving both trainers breathless but exhilarated. "You're getting better," Finn admitted, wiping sweat from his brow. "But don't think I'm going easy on you." A dangerous encounter. One afternoon, while exploring the outskirts of the Viridian wilds, Rine and Stardust stumbled upon an unexpected challenge. A wild scyther, its blades gleaming in the sunlight, emerged from the underbrush. The scyther wasn't just territorial, it was aggressive, charging at Rine with startling speed. "Stardust, slash! Counter it!" Rine yelled. Stardust leaped forward, its glowing claws clashing with the scyther's blades. The battle was intense, with Stardust barely evading the scyther's relentless strikes. Rine felt his aura pulse as he instinctively guided Stardust's movements, projecting bursts of energy to give it an edge. The fight ended when Stardust unleashed a perfectly timed dual chop, staggering the scyther and forcing it to retreat. Rine sank to his knees, his heart pounding. It was a stark reminder of the dangers lurking beyond Pallet Town. Preparations for Year 2. As summer break drew to a close, Rine began preparing for his return to the academy. With Mari's help, he stocked up on supplies, including fresh berries and handmade poke food for Stardust. Elric gifted him a sleek dagger, its blade engraved with a faint aura pattern. "This isn't just for show," Elric said. Sometimes, you'll need to protect yourself in ways Stardust can't. Rine nodded, slipping the dagger into his bag. He felt a newfound sense of responsibility, knowing that the second year would bring even greater challenges. Saying goodbye. On the morning of his departure, the Frostfangs gathered to see Rine off. Mari hugged him tightly, tears brimming in her eyes. "You've made us so proud," she said. "Keep growing, Rine." Elric gave a firm nod. "We'll be here when you need us. Stay sharp." Stardust chirped from its perch, as if promising to watch over Rine in their stead. With one final wave, Rine set off toward the academy, his heart heavy with emotion but brimming with determination. Looking ahead. As the academy's towering gates came into view, Rine felt a surge of anticipation. The second year would bring new faces, new trials, and the chance to push himself even further. He placed a hand on Stardust's head, their bond stronger than ever. "Ready for round 2?" he asked. Stardust chirped, its galaxy-like scales shimmering in the sunlight. Together, they stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 7, The Pokémon Academy, Year 2 begins. The second year at the Pokémon Academy began with a renewed sense of purpose for Rine. After a summer of grueling aura training, honing Stardust's abilities, and reflecting on his growth, he was ready to face the challenges ahead. Yet, as he passed through the academy gates, he couldn't shake the feeling that this year would be even tougher, and far more transformative, than the first. A familiar welcome. The academy grounds were bustling as students from across the region returned for another term. Dormitory buildings stood freshly polished, and instructors guided groups of wide-eyed first-years through orientation. Rine couldn't help but smile as he spotted his old friends waiting near the central fountain. "Rine!" Finn called, waving him over. His Litleo, now slightly larger and with a faint mane starting to form, growled playfully. "You're late," Dara teased, her EV perched lazily on her shoulder. "Figured you got lost somewhere." Rine rolled his eyes. "I was saying goodbye to my parents, if you must know." Amira gave him a small wave, her quiet demeanor unchanged. Beside her, a newly acquired Cleffa clung to her arm, looking at Rine with curious eyes. Kai adjusted his glasses, nodding in greeting. His Magnemite hovered close by, its metallic body gleaming in the sunlight. "Let me guess, you spent the entire summer training, didn't you?" Rine grinned. "Guilty. What about you all?" The group exchanged stories, their friendship was as strong as ever. Despite their banter, each of them radiated a sense of determination, their first year having forged bonds that would carry them through the trials ahead. Introduction to Advanced Classes. The second-year curriculum was a step up in difficulty. The instructors wasted no time introducing new subjects that delved deeper into Pokémon biology, advanced battle tactics, and the cultivation of unique trainer skills like aura manipulation and environmental adaptation. Rine's first class, Advanced Battle Strategies, was led by none other than Professor Kara, the battle-hardened instructor who had mentored him during the first year. "Welcome back, second years," Kara said, her voice as sharp as ever. Her Arcanine stood at her side, its golden fur gleaming in the morning light. "If you thought last year was tough, you're in for a rude awakening. This year isn't just about survival, it's about mastery. Every choice you make, every tactic you employ, will determine your success as a trainer." Rine sat forward in his seat, his mind racing with anticipation. Kara's lessons were always intense, but he knew they were invaluable. Reuniting with Stardust. After classes, Rine made his way to the Academy's specialized Pokémon habitats, where students could let their partners rest and train. Stardust had grown over the summer, its scales shimmering even brighter with an otherworldly glow. As Rine approached, Stardust chirped excitedly, bounding over to nuzzle his shoulder. "Missed you too, buddy," Rine said, scratching Stardust's chin. He took a moment to marvel at how far they'd come. Stardust was no longer the timid Axu he'd found in the Cavern of Stars, it was confident, powerful, and deeply attuned to Rine's aura. The pair spent the evening training in the Academy's open fields, testing new maneuvers like Aura Echo and refining Stardust's use of Dual Chop. Their synchronization had improved dramatically over the summer, and Rine couldn't wait to put their skills to the test in the weeks ahead. The first challenge, pair battles. The first major event of the year was a series of pair battles designed to test teamwork. Each student was paired with a classmate, their Pokémon working together to defeat a rival duo. Rine found himself partnered with Dara, whose EV had developed a knack for unpredictable tactics. Their opponents were Kai and Amira, a pair known for their methodical strategies and strong synergy. As the battle began, the terrain shifted into a dense jungle simulation. Kai's Magnemite hovered above the foliage, firing precise thunder waves, while Amira's Cleffa used Sing to disrupt Rine and Dara's coordination. Stardust, use Dragon Rage. Clear a path. Rine called. The Axu unleashed a blast of fiery energy, scattering the vines and forcing Cleffa to retreat. Dara seized the opening. Eevee, quick attack. Go for Magnemite. The agile Eevee darted forward, landing a solid hit on Kai's Magnemite. But Kai wasn't so easily outmaneuvered. Magnemite, Thunder Shock. Target Eevee. Electricity crackled as Magnemite retaliated, sending Eevee tumbling. Dara gritted her teeth. You okay, Eevee? Rine knew they needed a stronger counter. Stardust, support Eevee with Slash. Keep Magnemite off balance. The battle raged on, each side trading blows. In the end, it was Stardust's synchronized Aura Echo that turned the tide, overwhelming Cleffa and forcing Magnemite to retreat. The victory left Rine and Dara grinning, their bond as partners strengthened. Unexpected rivalries. Not all encounters during the second year were friendly. One of the new students, Vic Neros, quickly established himself as a rival to Rine. Vic was brash, confident, and skilled, his Zubat a master of aerial maneuvers that often left opponents scrambling. During a practice match, Vic challenged Rine directly. I've heard a lot about you and your shiny Axu, he said, smirking. Let's see if you're as good as everyone says. The battle was intense. Stardust struggled against Zubat's speed and evasive tactics, but Rine's growing aura skills allowed him to guide Stardust with precision. The match ended in a narrow draw, leaving both trainers eager for a rematch. You're good, Vic admitted, though his tone was begrudging. But don't think I'll let you win next time. A night of reflection. One night, after an especially grueling training session, Rine sat alone by the Academy's central fountain. Stardust rested beside him, its golden eyes reflecting the starlight. The weight of the year pressed on him. He had grown stronger, but so had the challenges. The pressure to improve, to protect Stardust, and to meet the expectations of his peers felt overwhelming at times. Am I doing enough? Rine whispered, his voice barely audible. Stardust nudged his arm, its presence reassuring. Rine smiled faintly, the bond they shared giving him the strength to keep going. Looking ahead. As the weeks passed, Rine settled into the rhythm of the second year. The challenges were tougher, the stakes higher, but he felt more prepared than ever. With Stardust by his side and his friends supporting him, he was ready to face whatever the Academy threw his way. The road ahead was uncertain, but Rine knew one thing for sure, he would keep pushing forward, no matter how difficult the journey became. The weight of expectations. From the outset, Rine felt the strain of expectations. His standout performance during the first year had earned him a reputation among the second years, and whispers about his rare shiny Axu, Stardust, followed him wherever he went. Hey, Rine, a passing student called one morning, are you going to enter the Kanto Rising Stars competition this year? Stardust's probably strong enough by now. Rine forced a polite smile, nodding without committing. The truth was, he wasn't sure if they were ready. Stardust's growth had been exceptional, but Rine couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing in their connection, a deeper understanding or a hidden potential yet untapped. To make matters worse, Vic Neros had taken every opportunity to taunt him, their rivalry intensifying with each passing day. Still coasting on last year's glory, Frostfang? Vic sneered after a class sparring match. Let me know when you're ready for a real challenge. The pressure began to creep into Rine's daily life. While he continued to excel in strategy-based classes, his focus faltered during practical sessions, and his aura training became erratic. One evening, during a meditation session, his frustration boiled over. "Why can't I just get this right?" he muttered, his aura flickering unevenly around his hands. Stardust, sensing his distress, chirped softly, nudging his arm with its snout. Rine sighed, resting a hand on Stardust's head. "I'm sorry. I'll figure it out, somehow." The expansion of the personal realm. During one of his aura training sessions, Rine discovered something extraordinary about his pocket dimension, the sanctuary granted to him by Arceus. It had grown subtly over the summer, its landscape now featuring a shimmering lake surrounded by crystalline flowers. While exploring the expanded space, Rine noticed that Stardust seemed invigorated by the environment. The Axu trained harder, its movements sharper and more fluid. It even began attempting new techniques unprompted, such as combining dual chop with a faint aura pulse to amplify its power. One day, while meditating by the lake, Rine sensed a pull deeper into the realm. Following the feeling, he discovered a hidden cavern etched into the mountainside. Inside, glowing glyphs lined the walls, and at the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a single shimmering orb of light. As Rine approached, the glyphs resonated with his aura, and the orb dissolved into him. A rush of energy filled his body, and when he returned to Stardust, he noticed an immediate change. Stardust's scales shimmered brighter, and its movements carried a newfound intensity. The connection between them deepened, as if the realm itself was feeding their bond. Struggles in the classroom. While Rine's connection with Stardust grew stronger, his academic life became increasingly turbulent. The workload in his second year was relentless, with advanced classes pushing him to his limits. One of the most challenging courses was Advanced Aura Synchronization, taught by a stern instructor named Instructor Solara. The class required students to harmonize their aura with their Pokémons during battle, a skill that demanded near-perfect focus. During one particularly grueling session, Rine failed to align his aura with Stardust's, causing their attack to misfire. The resulting energy backlash left both of them winded, and Rine couldn't hide his frustration. "You're overthinking it, Rine," Solara said, her tone sharp but not unkind. "Aura isn't something you control, it's something you share. Trust in your bond, and the rest will follow." Despite her advice, Rine couldn't shake his self-doubt. The fear of failure gnawed at him, and he began to isolate himself from his friends, spending long hours in the training fields alone. The mutation evolution. The breakthrough came during a sparring match against Vic. The rivalry between them had reached a boiling point, and when Vic challenged Rine in front of their classmates, Rine couldn't back down. The battle was fierce. Vic's Zubat had evolved into a Golbat, its aerial maneuvers more precise and its attacks more powerful. Stardust struggled to keep up, each missed strike leaving it more frustrated. "Is this all you've got?" Vic taunted. "Maybe that shiny Axu isn't so special after all." Rine clenched his fists, his aura flaring wildly. "Stardust, we can do this. Trust me." In that moment, something inside Stardust changed. Its aura erupted in a burst of energy, enveloping its body in a brilliant light. The entire arena fell silent as Stardust began to evolve. When the light faded, the crowd gasped. Stardust's new form was unlike any fracture the Academy had ever seen. Its body was sleeker, its scales darker, with streaks of glowing silver that resembled cracks in a star-filled sky. Its tusks were longer and more jagged, and its golden eyes burned with a fierce intensity. A mutation, Professor Kara murmured from the sidelines. Incredible. The newly evolved Stardust roared, its aura surging as it faced Golbat. With newfound power and precision, it unleashed a devastating aura-infused dual chop, striking Golbat down in one swift motion. The referee declared Rine the winner, but he barely heard the announcement. He knelt beside Stardust, his hand resting on its scaled shoulder. "You did it," he whispered, his voice filled with awe. Stardust nuzzled him, its fierce exterior softening in the presence of its trainer. The aftermath. The evolution marked a turning point for Rine. Stardust's transformation became the talk of the Academy, but more importantly, it reignited Rine's confidence. With Solara's guidance, he began to approach his aura training with a calmer mindset, focusing on trust rather than control. His synchronization with Stardust improved dramatically, and their bond became almost instinctive. Rine also reconnected with his friends, sharing the struggles he had kept hidden for so long. Finn's fiery encouragement, Dara's sharp wit, Amira's quiet support, and Kai's analytical insights reminded him that he didn't have to face his challenges alone. Looking forward. As the semester progressed, Rine felt more prepared than ever for what lay ahead. Stardust's evolution had revealed new strengths, but also new challenges, as they worked to master its enhanced abilities. "Let's keep pushing, Stardust," Rine said, his aura flaring gently around him. "We've only just begun." Stardust roared in agreement, its galaxy-like scales glinting under the ethereal light. Chapter 9, Forging Strength and Facing Shadows. The second half of Rine's second year brought a host of new challenges, triumphs, and mysteries. With Stardust's evolution into its mutated fracture form, their bond deepened, but the new power came with its own set of difficulties. Rine faced battles both external and internal, as he continued to grow alongside his friends and confront the trials of the Pokémon Academy. Advanced Training Regimens. After Stardust's evolution, Rine quickly learned that the fracture's newfound strength was difficult to control. Its attacks, while devastating, often lacked the precision necessary for high-stakes battles. Training became more intense, with Professor Kara personally overseeing Rine's progress. "Power means nothing if you can't wield it," Kara reminded him one afternoon as Stardust's aura-infused dual chop went wide, striking a boulder instead of the target. Rine wiped the sweat from his brow, frustration creeping in. "I know. I'm trying, but it's like Stardust is too fast now. I can't keep up." Kara's Arcanine patted over, nudging Rine gently. "Then you need to trust your instincts, Frostfang. Stop overthinking and let your bond guide you." Taking her words to heart, Rine began focusing on instinctual responses rather than overanalyzing every move. He and Stardust developed a new technique, Star Step, which allowed Stardust to dart unpredictably around opponents by using its aura to create quick bursts of speed. The rivalry intensifies. Vic Neros, ever the thorn in Rine's side, didn't let Stardust's evolution go unnoticed. He watched Rine's progress closely, often interrupting training sessions with taunts or challenges. One afternoon, Vic approached Rine in the academy courtyard, his Golbat flapping lazily above him. "So, Frostfang, how's your mutant dragon doing? Bet it still can't handle a proper flyer." Rine clenched his fists but forced himself to stay calm. "Care to find out?" The ensuing battle was fierce. Stardust's power allowed it to close the gap between them, but Golbat's aerial advantage made it difficult to land decisive blows. Vic's taunts only fueled Rine's determination, and with a perfectly executed Star Step, Stardust delivered a critical slash that ended the match. Though he won, Rine couldn't ignore the lingering doubt Vic's words stirred. Was Stardust's mutation truly a gift, or would it prove to be a curse? Shadow of the Wilds. In late autumn, the Academy organized a survival expedition into the Viridian Wilds, a multi-day challenge designed to test the students' teamwork and resourcefulness. Rine, Finn, Amira, Dara, and Kai were grouped together, their dynamic honed over the past year. The first days were uneventful, spent gathering supplies and avoiding wild Pokémon encounters. However, on the third night, something changed. The group was setting up camp near a shallow river when a low growl echoed through the trees. Finn's Leo immediately bristled, and Stardust stepped forward, its eyes scanning the darkness. "Something's out there," Dara whispered, clutching Eevee tightly. The growl grew louder, and suddenly, a large shadow burst into the clearing, a wild Houndoom, its fiery maw snarling with aggression. "Scatter!" Rine shouted as the Houndoom lunged. The group scrambled, each trainer directing their Pokémon to distract the Houndoom. Stardust took the lead, using Star Step to dart around the battlefield, its aura-infused claws striking the Houndoom's flanks. But the Houndoom was relentless, its flames scorching the ground around them. Amira's Cleffa managed to soothe it briefly with Sing, but the effect wore off too quickly. "Rine, we need a plan." Kai yelled as Magnemite unleashed a burst of thunder shock to no avail. Rine focused, his aura flaring instinctively. "Stardust, use Aura Echo. Create an opening." The synchronized attack created a shockwave, staggering the Houndoom. Finn's Leo followed with a powerful Ember, and Dara's Eevee finished the fight with a well-placed quick attack. As the Houndoom fled into the forest, the group collapsed in relief. "That was too close," Amira said, her voice shaking. "But we did it," Finn said, grinning despite the tension. "We made it through together." The encounter left Rine shaken but also proud of their teamwork. It was a stark reminder of the dangers outside the academy walls and the strength they were building to face them. The weight of leadership. After the expedition, Rine found himself unexpectedly thrust into a leadership role among his peers. His quick thinking and strong bond with Stardust had earned the respect of both his classmates and instructors, but the responsibility weighed heavily on him. One evening, as he sat alone in the academy library, Amira joined him, her Cleffa nestled in her lap. "You've been quieter lately," she said softly. Rine sighed. "I guess I've been thinking. What if I mess up? What if Stardust and I aren't strong enough when it really matters?" Amira placed a hand on his arm, her calm presence steadying him. "You've already proven yourself, Rine. We all trust you, you just need to trust yourself." Her words resonated, and Rine resolved to push past his doubts. The next evolution of the personal realm. Rine's personal realm continued to grow as he advanced in his aura training. After the Viridian Wilds expedition, he noticed new features emerging, a dense forest bordering the crystalline lake and a series of stone pillars inscribed with glowing runes. Stardust seemed invigorated by the changes, spending hours training among the trees and honing its balance by leaping between the pillars. Rine discovered that the realm also reflected his emotional state. On days when he felt confident, the skies above the realm were clear, and the lake sparkled with energy. But when doubts crept in, storm clouds loomed, and the air felt heavy. The connection deepened his bond with Stardust, allowing them to train in ways that pushed the boundaries of their abilities. Looking ahead to year's end. As the semester approached its conclusion, the Academy announced the second-year trials, a series of battles and challenges designed to test everything the students had learned. Rine felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The trials would be his chance to prove not just Stardust's strength, but his own growth as a trainer and leader. One evening, as he stood in his personal realm, Stardust by his side, he gazed at the distant horizon. "We've come so far, but there's still so much more to do," he said softly. Stardust roared in agreement, its galaxy-like scales shimmering under the realm's ethereal light. Together, they prepared to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 10, A New Companion and the Shadows of Conflict. The second year at the Pokémon Academy was drawing to a close, but the final months would bring trials Rine could never have anticipated. Between the growth of his pocket dimension, the end-of-year tournament, and a fateful summer camp, his journey took both heartwarming and harrowing turns. The evolving pocket dimension. Rine's pocket dimension, his sanctuary gifted by Arceus, continued to expand as his aura grew stronger. What had started as a simple space with a crystalline lake and open meadows had evolved into a vibrant, self-sustaining environment. The realm now featured distinct biomes tailored to support different Pokémon habitats. The lake had deepened, its waters glowing faintly with restorative energy that could heal minor injuries. A forest of golden-leafed trees stretched along the eastern edge, providing a haven for more agile and arboreal Pokémon. To the south, fields of fertile soil had appeared, and Rine had begun planting crops under Amira's guidance. Oran berries are a good start, she had advised during one of her visits to the realm. But try planting Lepa berries too, they'll help Pokémon recover energy during training. The crops flourished under the unique conditions of the realm, growing faster and more robust than they would in the outside world. Stardust often helped with tending the fields, using its sharp claws to clear weeds and its aura to energize the soil. One day, as Rine explored the expanding realm, he stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the forest. Inside, faintly glowing runes lined the walls, and a pedestal at the center emitted a steady hum. When he approached, the pedestal resonated with his aura, revealing a new function of the realm, the ability to create aura training grounds. These grounds manifested as dynamic environments where Rine's Pokémon could train in simulations tailored to their specific needs. Stardust benefited immediately, honing its agility in high-speed obstacle courses and strengthening its aura-based attacks through focused energy drills. "This place," Rine murmured, watching Stardust leap between glowing platforms with precision, "it's becoming more than I ever imagined." Chapter 11, The End-of-Year Tournament. The second-year end-of-year tournament at the Pokémon Academy was a spectacle unlike any other. Students, instructors, and even visiting trainers filled the grand arena to witness the culmination of months of training and growth. For Rine, the tournament was more than just a test of skill, it was a chance to solidify his bond with Stardust and prove how far they had come. The tournament was structured into 4 rounds, each with dynamically shifting terrains designed to test a trainer's adaptability. As the brackets were revealed, Rine felt a mix of excitement and nerves, knowing this tournament would be tougher than anything he had faced before. The end-of-year tournament. As the final weeks of the semester approached, the Academy held its annual end-of-year tournament. Unlike the first year's friendly matches, this event carried weight. It was an opportunity for students to showcase their progress and secure spots in advanced classes for their third year. Rine and his friends entered the tournament with a mix of excitement and nerves. Amira's Cleffa, Finn's now fully evolved Pyroar, Dara's Eevee, Kai's Magneton, and Rine's Stardust all performed admirably in the early rounds. However, tensions rose when one student, Marcus Vane, began exhibiting cruel tactics during his matches. Marcus, a tall boy with icy gray eyes and a cold demeanor, held the belief that weak Pokémon were worthless. His methods in battle reflected his philosophy, ruthless and calculated. In the first round of the tournament, Marcus faced Amira. Her Cleffa, though not as physically strong as other Pokémon, had proven its worth time and again with clever strategies and supportive moves. Marcus's Houndour, however, showed no mercy. "Finish it," Marcus said coldly as his Houndour struck Cleffa with a brutal crunch. The move left Cleffa badly injured, unable to continue battling. Amira rushed to her Pokémon's side, tears streaming as she cradled it. "Why would you go that far?" she demanded. Marcus shrugged. "Weak Pokémon have no place in the world. If it can't handle a real battle, it's better off out of the way." Rine, watching from the sidelines, felt his blood boil. When Marcus advanced to the finals against him, Rine made his fury clear. Round 2, Rine vs. Asha and her Clobopus. The first match took place on a battlefield designed to mimic a rocky coastline, complete with shallow water pools and jagged outcrops. Rine's opponent, Asha, was a determined girl known for her tenacity in her partner, a feisty Clobbopus. As the battle began, Asha immediately used the terrain to her advantage. "Clobbopus, dive into the pool and use Rock Smash," she commanded. The fighting type plunged into the water, emerging with surprising speed as it launched an attack at Stardust. "Stardust, dodge with Star Step and counter with Slash," Rine called. Stardust flickered across the battlefield, avoiding the blow and retaliating with its glowing claws. The hit connected, but Clobbopus quickly recovered, using the water to propel itself into a spinning submission. Rine narrowed his eyes. "Use Aura Echo to push it back." A pulse of synchronized energy rippled from Stardust, disrupting Clobbopus's momentum. With one final dragon rage, Stardust overwhelmed the opponent, securing Rine's victory. Round 3, Rine vs. Lina and her Hisuian Voltorb. The second match took place on a grassy plain dotted with tall flowers and scattered tree stumps. Rine's opponent, Lina, was a strategic trainer whose Hisuian Voltorb was known for its agility and surprising power. "Voltorb, roll out. Circle it," Lina shouted as the battle began. The spherical Pokémon moved with blinding speed, weaving between obstacles and creating a blur that made it hard to track. Rine remained calm. "Stardust, focus. Use Star Step to intercept its path." Stardust darted forward, its movements almost a dance as it disrupted Voltorb's trajectory. However, the Hisuian Voltorb unleashed a powerful energy ball, forcing Stardust to leap back. "Don't let it rest. Aura-infused dual chop." Stardust closed the distance in an instant, its claws glowing with energy as it struck Voltorb. The attack landed perfectly, sending Voltorb rolling to a stop. The referee raised a flag. Winner, Rine and Stardust. The battle with Marcus. The final match between Rine and Marcus was nothing short of explosive. Stardust faced Marcus's Houndour in a heated clash of power and strategy. "Let's see if your dragon's as strong as everyone says," Marcus sneered. Stardust darted around the battlefield, using Star Step to avoid Houndour's flames. Rine's commands were sharp and precise, his aura synchronizing with Stardust's every movement. "Don't hold back, Stardust. Aura-infused dual chop." The attack struck true, forcing Houndour onto the defensive. But Marcus's tactics turned crueler as the battle progressed. He commanded his Houndour to focus on disabling Stardust's legs, aiming to cripple it rather than simply defeat it. Rine's anger reached a breaking point. His aura flared wildly, and when Stardust delivered a critical blow that knocked Houndour out cold, Rine stepped forward, fists clenched. "You don't deserve to be a trainer," he said through gritted teeth. Marcus smirked. "And what are you going to do about it?" Rine didn't think, he acted. His aura surged as he grabbed Marcus by the collar, shoving him back. The raw force left Marcus stunned, but the realization of what he had done struck Rine harder. He released Marcus and stepped back, trembling. The crowd was silent, and Rine felt the weight of his actions sinking in. "Am I no better than him?" he whispered to himself, staring at his glowing hands. The final battle against Marcus had been a defining moment for Rine, but the aftermath weighed heavily on him. The raw anger he had felt during the fight, and his instinctive response to Marcus's cruelty, left scars deeper than any physical wound. Though he had emerged victorious in the tournament, the cost of that victory was becoming clear. The final battle against Marcus had been a defining moment for Rine, but the aftermath weighed heavily on him. The raw anger he had felt during the fight, and his instinctive response to Marcus's cruelty, left scars deeper than any physical wound. Though he had emerged victorious in the tournament, the cost of that victory was becoming clear. Facing the headmaster. The headmaster, Professor Alderus, was a calm but imposing figure, known for his fairness and insight. His office was adorned with bookshelves filled with tomes on Pokémon history, strategy, and philosophy. Rine stood before him, hands clasped tightly at his sides. Stardust, sensing his unease, stayed close, its galaxy-like scales glinting faintly in the sunlight streaming through the window. Alderus spoke after a long silence, his voice measured. Rine Frostfang. I've reviewed the reports from the tournament, including your actions during the final match. What you did to Marcus was unacceptable. Rine's heart sank. I didn't mean to. I wasn't thinking. Alderus held up a hand, stopping him. Marcus's behavior is not the issue here. His cruelty toward Pokémon and his provocations are being addressed separately. This is about you, Rine. You let your emotions take control, and you used your aura as a weapon against another student. Do you understand how serious that is? Rine nodded, his throat tightening. I do, sir. I'm sorry. Alderus leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Aura is a powerful tool, but it is also dangerous. You are gifted, Rine, but if you cannot control your emotions, that gift can become a curse, not just for you, but for those around you. The consequences. The headmaster outlined the consequences of Rine's actions. Mandatory aura counseling. Rine would attend weekly sessions with instructor Solara to work on emotional control and advanced aura techniques. Restricted privileges. Rine's access to the Academy's advanced training facilities would be limited for the next semester. A formal apology. Rine was required to issue a formal apology to Marcus, witnessed by the Academy's disciplinary committee. Rine accepted the punishments without protest, though the last condition left a bitter taste in his mouth. The apology. The formal apology took place the next afternoon in the Academy's administrative hall. Marcus stood with his arms crossed, a smug expression on his face. His Houndour sat at his side, its injuries from the tournament already healing. Rine took a deep breath, forcing himself to meet Marcus's gaze. Marcus, I'm sorry for losing control during our match. What I did was wrong, and it won't happen again. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's it? No excuses? No, you made me do it. I'm responsible for my actions, Rine replied firmly, his aura steady. But don't mistake this for approval of how you treat your Pokémon, or anyone else. Marcus smirked. Fair enough. But don't think this is over, Frostfang. You'll see things my way eventually. Confronting his friends. The hardest part of the aftermath was facing his friends. After the apology, Rine returned to the dorm, expecting judgment or disappointment. Instead, he found Finn, Amira, Dara, and Kai waiting for him. You okay? Finn asked, his usual bravado softened. Rine hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. I lost control. I didn't think about what I was doing, and I could have hurt him, really hurt him. Dara crossed her arms. Marcus had it coming, but yeah, you went too far. Amira placed a hand on his shoulder. What matters is that you know it was wrong, and you're taking steps to fix it. Kai adjusted his glasses, his analytical tone cutting through the tension. Marcus won't let this go. He's already been stirring up trouble with other students, and now he's focused on you. Rine clenched his fists. I won't let him hurt anyone else. But I can't let myself become like him either. Aura counseling with Solara. Instructor Solara took her role in Rine's counseling seriously. Their sessions were grueling, combining intense meditation exercises with practical drills to help Rine channel his emotions through his aura rather than letting them dictate his actions. Anger isn't inherently bad, Solara explained during one session. But it's like fire, useful when controlled, destructive when left unchecked. You must learn to temper it, to wield it without being consumed by it. Rine struggled at first, his frustration often flaring during the exercises. But as weeks turned into months, he began to feel a change. His aura grew steadier, more refined, and his connection with Stardust deepened. A new resolve. By the time the semester ended, Rine had learned an important lesson: strength wasn't just about power, it was about knowing when and how to use it. He resolved to protect those he cared about without letting anger cloud his judgment. One evening, as he trained in his pocket dimension, Stardust stood beside him, its galaxy-like scales shimmering under the ethereal light. "We've come a long way," Rine said softly, resting a hand on Stardust's shoulder. "And we've got so much further to go. But we'll get there, together." Stardust roared in agreement, its golden eyes burning with determination. Looking ahead. The repercussions of his actions lingered, but Rine knew he was stronger for facing them. Marcus's words and actions continued to provoke, but Rine was learning to respond with focus rather than fury. As the academy prepared for the third year, Rine felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would be challenging, but Rine was ready to face it head-on, with his team, his friends, and his unwavering resolve to do what was right. A new companion. After the tournament, Rine took time to reflect on what had happened. Marcus's words and actions had pushed him to a dangerous place, and he couldn't shake the fear of losing control again. During the summer break, Rine attended a small camp organized by the academy to help students build stronger bonds with their Pokémon. The camp focused on wilderness exploration, team-building exercises, and opportunities to encounter new Pokémon. One evening, while exploring a tranquil riverbank near the camp, Rine heard a faint cry. Following the sound, he discovered a small Pokémon caught in a tangle of reeds, a Sprigatito, its emerald fur glistening in the moonlight. "Hang on," Rine said softly, wading into the water. Stardust, perched nearby, chirped in encouragement. The Sprigatito struggled but allowed Rine to free it. As soon as it was safe, it nuzzled his hand, purring softly. "You're a feisty one," Rine said with a grin. "How about joining us?" The Sprigatito meowed in agreement, and Rine gently tapped it with a spare Pokeball. The capture was seamless, and Rine felt a new warmth in his heart. "Welcome to the team," he said, holding the ball up to the light. "Let's see what we can accomplish together." Reflections and resolve. The summer camp ended with a ceremony by the river, where students shared stories of their experiences. Rine sat with Stardust and his new Sprigatito, reflecting on the year's events. He had learned much, about strength, responsibility, and the weight of power. The encounter with Marcus had shaken him, but it also reminded him why he fought: to protect, not to harm. As the campfire crackled and the stars above mirrored Stardust's scales, Rine made a silent vow. "I'll never let my strength become a weapon for cruelty," he thought. "And I'll never stop standing up for what's right." With his team growing and his resolve stronger than ever, Rine looked forward to the challenges and growth awaiting him in the next chapter of his journey.